Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome. I am going to talk to you about a big mistake that I see actors make, regardless of how long they've been in a game, and that is going to Google and Googling best monologue auditions. Or you're probably doing ChatGPT now, best monologue auditions for insert your type here. I'm here to tell you to stop doing that right now. It is actually making it worse, and I will tell you why. But before I go any further, my name is Edmund Alan Jones, yes, very British name, aka Eddie with a Y, the off-book guy. I'm very passionate about teaching actors how to get off book. But today I want to talk about what you need to actually memorize. So a lot of times you're putting stuff in your head that is not going to help you succeed, and I am going to help you to build the perfect monologue. So keep watching. All right, so today I want to talk about something that I affectionately call the Frankenstein Monologue Method. And essentially what we are going to do is we're going to find a juicy scene in a play, and we're going to extract a monologue from it. So what you do is you find said juicy scene. I recommend going to plays. It's a great way to see the works in action. Find a scene that you really dig for the character that you feel like is close to who you are and your type. And then what we're going to do is we're going to extract all of the lines from that scene, and we're going to turn it into a continuous monologue, right? So traditional monologues are problematic. A lot of times we, and when I say we, I mean playwrights, we use monologues for exposition or to give backstory. Unfortunately, in plays, we don't have the luxury of showing instead of telling. Like you on film, you can show the epic volcano and all that jazz. And plays, you could do that, but it tends to be a lot more expensive. So we use the monologue, that is playwrights uses the monologue as a way of exposition to let the audience know what happened or to give backstory on the character. The problem with those kind of monologues, where you have this large chunk of text talking about what happened and how I'm feeling as a character, is they're boring for auditions. They're not good audition pieces. And so a lot of times when you're Googling audition monologues, what the algorithm is looking for is just a big old large chunk of text from a script. And when you take monologues out of context in that situation, it usually leads to a bad situation. So by going to scenes are where the juices happen. That's where the meat happens. That's where the conflict is happening. So we're getting the information out of the scene and turning it into a continuous monologue. And I got this idea for the continuous monologue from Robert Downey Jr., one of my favorite actors. His mastery of text is amazing. And the way he is able to manipulate text so completely and verbally is because he creates a continuous monologue. So he actually does this process where he turns all of his lines into a big monologue. And so the other actors have to react to his monologue. So I figured, hey, why don't we try this for an audition? And it works really, really great. Now, really important here, we are not changing the words of the playwright. That is super important. We are not changing the order of the words of the playwright. The playwright worked really hard to craft that scene to make an amazing thing. We're just simply extracting the lines and hoping to tell a succinct story using the lines from a scene. What you're going to do is you're going to extract the lines. You're going to create a continuous monologue. And you have to follow a few other criteria to make sure that it works for an audition. So, three things that you really need. You need your character to start in one state. You need them to have a realization in the middle of the scene. And then finally, you need to have them end in another state. In order for a scene to turn into a monologue audition, it's got to have a couple of things. First of all, it's got to have an arc. So you want to make sure that in this scene, the character ends somewhere differently than when they began. But then there is another element in the scene, and there is the realization. And for a monologue audition piece, you got to have a good climax. And so when you have a realization in the scene, that helps you to get your climax. And then the third thing you have to have is that the character is in a different state than how they started. So you don't want the scene to end the way it starts. So a great example is this. Say you've got a guy who is arguing with his girlfriend because she stood him up again. And he's yelling and he's going after her and he's really fighting and attacking. And then halfway through the scene, he discovers that she didn't show up because she had morning sickness because she was pregnant with his baby. And now all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a father. This is great. He's got tears in his eyes maybe, and he's hugging and soothing and going to go get her ice cream and pickles. who knows, right? But what's great about this particular scene that I have magically made up in my head is it has a transformation. The character starts in one state and ends in another, and there's a realization in the middle, and that realization is the climax in your scene. And so what you've created essentially is a miniature play. The idea is you want to take your character on a journey in 90 seconds or less, and that is what makes a dynamic audition monologue piece. So there you have it, my friends. I hope this is really helpful. Know that you are not going to go to monologue anthologies anymore. You're not going to Google best monologue auditions, and you really don't want to get monologues from popular plays. I promise you, the casting directors have seen the monologues from Wicked a bajillion times. They will probably hate you if you do it one more time. So this is a really great way to extract great monologues, and hopefully if you're out there watching a lot of plays, you get an idea of roles that you will eventually play. Yes, eventually, we're going to call it out. And so you go for the scenes, you go for the characters that really vibe with who you are and the essence of who you are and your character type. So again, we're going to find a juicy scene. We're going to extract the lines, turn them into a continuous monologue, and make sure there's a transformation, a story arc. And ideally, we want to do this in 90 seconds or less. Okay, so that's the Frankenstein method. Hope it helps. Let me know in the comments if you have any other questions about this, if you want me to dig a little deeper or actually show you an example of how this works in real time. I'd be happy to do that, but I'll do it unless you tell me to. So tell me to. Okay, check out the description for other cool things. I have some articles around this topic as well that might be useful and give you some more context. Okay, thank you for watching. I'm Edmund Allen Jones, aka Eddie with a Y, the off-book guy. This is my video about acting. Deuces.